Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coach Craig's Sports. Today is Thursday, October 27th, and this is the NBA DFS video for today. So in today's video, we'll be taking a quick look back at yesterday's picks, seeing how they turned out. Talking about the injuries in play for today. It's only a 4-game slate overall since it is a Thursday, a little bit smaller slate. Maybe one that you play a little bit lighter in general. Sometimes these 4-game slates are a little bit more difficult to figure out. And then we're going to go into my core picks for both DraftKings and FanDuel for today's main slate overall. But without further ado, we'll get started with a recap of yesterday's picks. On the DraftKings side, at point guard, we had Trey Jones, $5,500. Looking for 28 points time. He got to 28.25, so he was a hit once again yesterday. Then at shooting guard, we had Karis LeVert at $6,200. Looking for 31 points time. Looked like a pretty good play without Darius Garland playing last night. Ended up with 22.5 points. He was a mess. He went 3 for 12 shooting from the field. He had 14 DraftKings points in the first quarter yesterday. So I'm looking at this when I checked on my lineups just a little bit. Looked like it was going to be a smash day for him. And then he got 8.5 DraftKings points the rest of the game. So not really sure what happened there. Obviously still played full minutes since I had to double check and just make sure he didn't get hurt or anything else like that. But just kind of unfortunate that he started off so hot and then fell off from there. Then we moved down to small forward with Josh Richardson, $3,900, got to 38.75, so almost 10x there. So he was a really good hit. Very popular play altogether as well. Then at power forward, we had Keldon Johnson at $6,800, looking for 34 points. Got to 37.5, so he was a hit as well. And then last but not least, we had Kelly Olynyk at the center position, $5,600, looking for 28 points time. He got to 23, so he was a miss. He ended up playing 29 minutes yesterday and only 1 for 8 shooting from the field. So if he makes 2 more shots, he pretty much pays off for what we were looking for. Just kind of unfortunate overall that he did not work out in that regard. But still, altogether, 3 hits and then 2 misses. If he had some other decent plays, he still had a chance of cashing overall. Then on the FanDuel side, we had point guard Cole Anthony, $6,100, got to 22.5, so he ended up being missed. Played 32 minutes, 2 for 10 shooting, and he did end up getting injured in this game, so maybe plays a couple extra minutes if that's not the case. But just not a very good day for him overall. Probably part of the injury played a factor in that too, if he got hurt and he was trying to play through it and everything else like that. Do not know the full details of that, but he is expected to miss some time at this point in time. Then we had Karis LeVert once again, $5,900. We were looking for 29, 30 points time. He got to 19.4. He was a miss. As I mentioned on the DraftKings side, really strong first quarter. Then the rest of the game was just pretty much nothing. So it's just kind of unfortunate that ended up being the case because he was on track to have a pretty good game if he kept doing what he was doing in the first quarter. Then at small forward, we had Josh Richardson at $4,600, got to 38.6 points, so he was a hit. And he was a lot less popular on FanDuel, which was a little bit of a surprise, honestly, even though the price tag was a little bit higher. But still, on DraftKings, he was over 40% owned in most GPPs that I was in. And then on FanDuel, he was only like 6 to 8%, so nothing too crazy there on the FanDuel side. Then at power forward, we had KJ Martin, $4,200. Looked a little bit worse once Jae'Sean Tate was announced that he was going to play in this game, and he ended up starting. But he still paid off in general as he got to 26.5 points, so he was a hit as well. Then we got Kelly Olynyk once again, $5,300, looking for 26, 27 points. Got to 21.6 on the FanDuel side, so he was a mess, as I talked about. On the DraftKings side, 29 minutes and just did not shoot the ball rather well. So we had 2 hits on the FanDuel side, 3 misses. So a little bit more of a hit or miss day over there. Some other guys that I did talk about, Gordon Hayward, who was in my initial core, did end up playing pretty well yesterday. Really was debating back and forth between him and Karis LeVert. Just wanted to leave in that updated core once we did get news that Josh Richardson was starting. But with that being said, we'll get moved over into the injuries and play for today's games. So once again, it is a 4-game slate. It's one that's starting a little bit later, a half hour later than normal at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We have 1 game tipping off right then. Then we have the 8 o'clock Eastern time, and then 2 10 o'clock games after that. So it could make for a pretty interesting slate, especially if we get some late news and some potential late swaps. But we're going to start off with the Dallas Mavericks, who are without Davis Bertans and Frank Ntilikina once again. Tim Hardaway Jr. is questionable to play. Did not end up playing last time out. I do not expect him to play tonight, and I don't think it's going to make too big a difference DFS-wise either way, though. Then for the Brooklyn Nets, they are without Seth Curry and TJ Warren once again. Markieff Morris is listed as questionable. I still don't expect him back tonight, but we'll just have to keep an eye out on that in general. For the Clippers, they're without Kawhi Leonard and Marcus Morris once again. Paul George is listed as questionable. He's been dealing with an illness. We'll see whether or not he ends up playing tonight or not. If he does, looks like a pretty decent play on both sides. If he doesn't, could be some value opening up here once again. We'll see if it's Terrence Mann who gets the start. On the Thunder side, they're without Williams and Giddey once again. So no major changes there. Obviously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander looked like he wasn't going to play last time out, then ended up playing and actually played pretty well. So he's going to be very much in play once again today. Trey Mann had a nice game as well. Then for the Miami Heat, we have Victor Oladipo and Omar Yurtseven both out once again, so no changes there. The Golden State Warriors are without Dante DiVincenzo and Andre Iguodala again, so no changes there either. We move down to the Memphis Grizzlies, who are without Danny Green, Jaren Jackson, and Zaire Williams. And now John Conchar is listed as questionable to play, dealing with the shoulder injury. We'll see whether or not he plays or not, but they did get Dillon Brooks back the last game, so Conchar was a little bit more limited in his role last time out either way. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for today's slate. Obviously, Paul George is going to be one of the biggest ones, and then we're just monitoring some other ones, and then if anything else does pop up throughout the day, I'll list it down in the comments as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core plays for today. So at the point guard position, we're going to go with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's $9,300. You're looking for about 46, 47 points on him. He's averaging over 54 so far on the season. Currently, I'm projected for about 47 points tonight, but definitely does offer some upside for more as well. Then at shooting guard, we're going with his teammate and Trey Mann, $5,600. Looking for about 28 fantasy points on him. Averaging about 26 on the season. Currently, I'm projected for 27. Shooting guard is kind of a tough spot tonight, especially if you're not just paying up for like a Paul George or something like that. We'll see what shakes out at the rest of that position, whether Paul George plays or not. Could open up some value there as well, but Trey Mann's looking like my favorite play at this point in time. Then we move down to small forward with Keegan Murray. He is $5,500, looking for 27, 28 points on him. He's averaging 28 fantasy points per game on the season so far. He's only played 2 games, but played pretty good minutes in both those games, despite missing a couple games at the beginning of the year as well. Should be a pretty decent matchup for him overall. Currently, I'm projected for 29 points tonight. And then on the opposite side of that game, the guy that he's going to be going against most of the game, probably Santi Aldama. He is $5,200, looking for 26 fantasy points at him. Currently averaging just over 28 so far on the season. And I currently have him projected for 27 fantasy points tonight. Definitely could offer some upside for more. Maybe a little downside for less, but he's been pretty consistent so far on the season. And then last but not least, we're going right back to Zubac. He's $6,500. Looking for 32, 33 fantasy points. I'm got him projected for 34, 35 tonight. If he gets the minutes once again, should be a very favorable matchup for him versus this Oklahoma City Thunder team. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that do have listed here, you'll have $17,900 remaining, just under $6,000 per player. So might have to get a little bit more creative tonight, maybe a little bit more balanced slate. Obviously, if you want to slide Luka Doncic in your lineup, you can do that. But at the same time, we're going to have to make some compromises elsewhere and try to find some cheap value players, which there may or may not be by the time we get to lock. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my picks over there as well. So at the point guard position on FanDuel, we're going with Kyle Lowry. He's been playing pretty big minutes this year. He's been a little bit up and down, though. He's $5,100, looking for 25, 26 points on, averaging 26 fantasy points per game on the season. Currently, I'm projected for 26, 27 points tonight. He's just kind of that not-so-special option at point guard tonight. Maybe gives you that 30-point upside, but a pretty safe value play overall. And then at shooting guard, we're going to go with Luka Doncic at $12,000. So you're looking for 60 points on him. He's averaging over 61.5 fantasy points per game on the season. Haven't projected currently for 58 fantasy points. It's really, really hard for me to project anyone above 58 fantasy points just when we're doing a median projection, but it looks like a pretty solid play overall tonight. And then we move down to small forward once again with Keegan Murray at $5,200. We're looking for 26 fantasy points at him. He's averaging just under 27 so far on the season. Obviously only played 2 games, but he's played big minutes in both those games. Currently having projected for about 28, 29 fantasy points tonight. Definitely has some upside for more if he's shooting the ball well once again. Then we move down to power forward with Santi Aldama on the opposite side of that game. Once again, $5,300. Looking for 26, 27 points on him. Averaging 28.5 fantasy points per game so far on the season. Currently having projected for 28 points tonight. You kind of know what you're going to get out of him. And still a pretty good value overall. Then last but not least, we have Zubac once again. He's $6,500. We're looking for 32, 33 fantasy points on him. Currently having projected for about 33, 34. Once again, if he gets the minutes for Oklahoma City Thunder, he's going to look like a very good play and probably get you over 40 points once again tonight. So definitely some good upside there with Zubac once again. Obviously, if you're not playing him, you can look at Bam Adebayo. You can look at Steven Adams as well. Not too many great center plays overall on tonight's slate, though. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that do have listed here, you have $25,900 remaining, just under $6,500 per player. So going to have to get a little bit more creative on the slate overall. Maybe you can play up for one other player. Maybe it's a Jimmy Butler, maybe it's a Paul George, and then kind of pay down on all the other spots. Definitely a lot of different ways you can approach the slate, and it's going to make a pretty interesting slate overall as well. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, October 27th. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to leave them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as as possible. Also, make sure that you're listing site-specific if your question's directed more towards DraftKings or FanDuel, just so I can best help you and not take too much time asking more questions in general there. And then also be sure to let me know your favorite play on tonight's slate, whether it's for DraftKings or FanDuel. Definitely be sure to let me know which one there as well. Obviously, the pricing does vary site to site just a little bit. And then, as always, I'll be listing the injury updates throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups, at least for the early games, hopefully for the 10 o'clock games as well, but we'll see how the night goes along here. And then also, if there are any updates to the core throughout the day, I'll list them as well. Typically about 20 to 30 minutes prior to lock if I'm able to do so. If there's updates that come out after lock, we'll be updating there as well. But with that being said, if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, it's NFL and NBA DFS. And then with that being said, if you are a new or current subscriber who's yet to do so, also be sure to hit that notification bell down below. It's going to let you know every single time I post up a new video. Like I've been saying, post up daily NBA DFS videos just like this, Monday through Friday. Probably going to have some on the weekend at some point in time. Just hasn't been the case as of late or in the near future. But once I get back around to that, we'll be posting some as well. May just post some here and there. Maybe not in video form, but just some of the plays that I do like in general on the weekends if I'm able to do that as well. And then for the NFL DFS, the weekly core pick video coming out on Friday or Saturday, typically been Saturday as of late. And then the live streams for the Monday night and Thursday night football games going live about 45 minutes prior to lock, talking for about a half hour, 30 minutes, going through the inactives, going through the pricing, and building a couple of lineups together, and definitely answering any questions that you guys do have during those. So if you're into that, definitely be sure to check those out as well. But with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. Hopefully you all enjoyed. And then last but not least, special shout out to each and every one of you watching today's video. I truly do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Definitely means a lot to me, and I hope each and every one of you has a great rest of your day.